All right, going live in 10. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Rotoworld Fantasy Basketball Q&A. I'm Raphielle Johnson, joined as always by Noah Rubin. Noah, the last time we were here, Trey Young, was a member of the Atlanta Hawks, and that is no longer the case. As our resident Hawks fan, what are your thoughts on the trade that was made?
So, yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts. One being, it's really insane how often the Hawks end up trading players years after their value has peaked.
Yeah.
Different management, so it's not like it's just one GM that keeps doing it. But not that Trae Young definitely should have been traded 3 years ago when his value was at its peak, but just keeps happening. Like John Collins is the other major example, but they've done that a couple of times now. The fact that there was no picks back whatsoever is not saying it doesn't make sense now, but just crazy to think considering where he was and where the team was 3-4 years ago. Don't hate the return. Excited to see if they make a trade for Anthony Davis. I like the idea of Trae Young in Washington in theory. I think we talked about this last Tuesday, the idea of Washington trading for him and then not playing him at all this season and then trying to get a top pick and then having him run the show next year. I was like, that makes sense. And now there's reports that are suggesting they could do something like that. Maybe not every game this season. Like maybe he does play this year, but I don't think we'll see him much in a Wizards jersey this year. So we'll see what happens with the lottery. That's my priority as a Hawks fan as well with the Pelicans pick. And I'm sure it's a priority for the Wizards as well. And you're hoping that they win enough games to fall out of the top 8. So it's, it's a big year for the lottery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an interesting trade, that I assumed that there would be some type of draft compensation attached.
Something, like 2 seconds, the OKC first, something.
But obviously, they were the kind of, I guess the money worked out between McCollum and Kispert where they didn't have to do that. So if you're Washington, I think limiting Trae Young's opportunities the rest of the season is a very real possibility. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Maybe the early concerns about, say, like a Bub Carrington, maybe they won't be an issue, just because he's the one who probably lose out the most with a Trae Young dominant lineup. So it'll be interesting to watch. Obviously, earlier today, I reported that the Grizzlies are open to moving Ja Morant. Okay, I think it's another player where the peak value is probably not there right now. Availability issues, some off-court stuff with him as well. So, yeah, maybe the trade deadline would be more interesting than someone like myself may have assumed it would be. But, we'll see what happens. And obviously, a lot of these moves are going to impact fantasy basketball. So, without further ado, we're going to get into
If I can just share real quick, not share, but talk about the Ja Morant thing. I think my one thing would be Trae Young didn't bring back any sort of draft capital. I don't think that Ja Morant should bring back any sort of draft capital, but the report from Shams was that they're interested in young players and picks. So if Ja Morant, and I'm not saying this like, Trae Young's definitely better than Ja. You can think Ja Morant's a better player. That's fine. I think they're similar enough in the sense that they're really good offensive players and not as good defensively that it should be a similar return. So if they're able to get picks and young players back for John, it's like a nice package. Then it just makes the Hawks trade look so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, we're going to start with James. Happy New Year to you as well. Would you trade Donovan Mitchell and Isaiah Hartenstein for Darius Garland and Alperen Sengun in a 14-team, 14-cat roto?
I think I would. I would say that. I mean, is Donovan Mitchell definitively the best player in this trade? I don't think so. It's between him and Sengun. But I think that the gap between Hartenstein and Garland, I prefer Garland by enough. Yeah. Maybe it depends on what categories you're looking for, whatever help you need in this Roto League. But I think I would do that trade.
Yeah, I think the one question I would have is how much do you believe in Garland's recent resurgence, so to speak. That would be the big question there. But I think it's certainly a fair trade. You get Şengün once he's healthy. He's pretty much a consistent double-double guy, if not a triple-double threat on some nights. So Hartenstein has a pretty good floor, but the ceiling, I think you can kind of move on from him, even with your decision to attach Donovan Mitchell there. So I think it would be a fair trade.
Yeah.
All right, Isaac, 12-team, 9-cat head-to-head. Oh, wow, we got the juicy TJ stream yesterday off the wire. What's his rest of the season outlook and short-term value?
I don't think that we're going to see a game like that from him often.
Yeah.
Good job by you to be able to get that game in there, but I don't think that that's going to just become the norm for him. I think we've talked about this before. Like, he typically hovers at around 17 minutes per game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very effective in short spurts. I think that the difference yesterday was Andrew Nembhard was out.
Yep, exactly.
So if he ends up missing multiple games, then maybe you can get a couple more games out of TJ McConnell. But even in the past, I don't think that Nembhard being out was just automatically led to like a massive. Actually, maybe it has this. Well, okay, not massive minutes, because the last time Andrew Nembhard missed a game, McConnell was still good, but he only played 19 minutes. He played 27 yesterday, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're necessarily, I guess 28 minutes, which was a season high for him. I just don't think he gets enough minutes often enough for him to be like a must roster player rest of season. Streaming value and Nembhard's out, but he doesn't get enough minutes for me to feel super, super confident in him.
Yeah, it all depends on Andrew Nembhard's availability. And I struggle to find a scenario in which they would like sit Nembhard later in the season but play McConnell. So I don't really like his rest of season outlook. I think you can get some decent value in the short term, but I think we get deeper in the year, probably going to see a lot more of Cam Jones, if anything. They're a rookie second-round pick out of Marquette, I would think. So yeah, really good effort from TJ last night. Good move on your part to pick him up, but yeah, I'm not too big on him in terms of the rest of the season fantasy outlook. Short term, it's all going to depend on how much time Nembhard misses, if he has to miss any more games because of that back issue. So. All right. Also, I have Aldama, and I'm streaming Jock Landale. What do we think about their rest of season outlooks, especially with the Ja Morant trade rumors?
I mean, Sunday's been like good all season. Like a little bit somewhat inconsistent, but I don't know how much his value is changed directly by Ja Morant.
Yeah.
It's more like he gets to start when there's injuries, but it's kind of in and out, makes it somewhat inconsistent. But he's obviously really good, just needs the opportunity more. As far as Landale, I think, again, not necessarily super tied to Ja Morant.
Yeah,
he's
that's
been
more of a
starting.
Zach Edey issue.
Right. He's been starting the last 3 games. He hasn't been starting the entire time that Zach Edey's been out, but if he continues to start, there's definitely some value, and I think it's a good weekend for him. They played the Thunder and the Nets, and the Thunder are not playing like anyone. They're not.
Yeah.
Everyone's out, but like SJ's out, Chet's out, Hartenstein's still out. Jay Will is out, so I think it was Jay Will, not J Dub.
Yeah, it's Jay Will.
So it's just like barely any depth down low. So I would think this could be a nice weekend for him. But as far as rest of the season, as long as Edey's out and Landale's starting, there's value there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It'd be one thing if Ja was like a huge assist guy. Like, he gets assists for sure, but I think it would be. Let me put it this way: I think if it were Trae Young we were talking about, I think maybe there's a chance of a larger impact because of the assist that he provides compared to Ja. But I don't think that's going to have a huge impact on them personally. So they're more about the Zach Edey questions, and then Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. Like, if he were to come up with an injury, that would be something else that would be more impactful than Ja potentially being traded. All right, Andy also dropped PJ Washington. Should I be looking to pick him back up? And obviously the same league format here. I think that's alluding to the Anthony Davis injury. We haven't heard an update on the severity of that just yet. But
No, we haven't. I'm not like dying to. I don't know. He's been pretty good, especially recently. I don't know. I don't think that this hand injury, like, granted, you're right. We don't have like much of an update on what that looks like. There was something on Basketball Monster, but I couldn't even find what the update was about. He's not. I guess we'll find out more when
he's
in
supposed
the
to.
injury report.
Yeah, he's supposed to get some scans done today.
So that'll tell us more. Really don't know. I mean, I don't think it hurts to add him because he has been pretty good this year. It just kind of depends on who you're dropping.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You know, the pickings aren't great in Dallas in terms of that front court rotation. So even though PJ doesn't have the best like category league profile, probably wouldn't hurt to pick him up right now, to be honest with you. Okay, with the Ja trade rumors, is Ty Jerome worth stashing now?
I wouldn't say, I don't know. I wouldn't feel super confident in that. I think the reasoning is, when's he even back? It was another 6 to 9 weeks from late November. So I guess it could be within the next few weeks potentially that we're seeing him back. But we don't really have an update on that. So maybe, but that doesn't mean that John Morant is going to be traded. That doesn't mean he's going to be traded before the trade deadline. It could be like right around then. But the main thing it is with every single trade is we don't know who's going to come back. There could be another guard coming back, and then you're mixing in Jerome with Scottie Pippen Jr. will be back at some point. Cam Spencer's been really good. Vince Williams to an extent, like Javon Small to an extent. He probably is the one that gets bumped out. I don't think that there's necessarily enough there, especially because we also haven't
know how he's going to fit. Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to. We haven't seen him play this year.
Exactly.
We haven't seen Scottie Pippen play this year. We genuinely don't know which one's going to start if John Morant is missing a game when both of them are healthy, because we haven't seen it like have an opportunity to happen. So you could be trying to stash a potential sixth man who was good last year in that role, but it's a different team. I don't know. I just think there's too many unknown factors here that you'd be taking quite a risk by doing that. So if you are a believer, go for it. I just probably would hold off.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need to stash him. Like, you can, hey, if you think he's going to be the man once he gets healthy, you go right ahead and do it. But like Noah said, we don't know for sure if Ja's going to get traded, for one, and two, the return. You know, I think given what Ja's salary is, I don't think they're going to be able to get back all like draft capital and young players. Like, probably going to have to get an established player back, whether it's a two-team deal or a multi-team deal. So, yeah, I don't think I'd be considering stashing anyone. Like, Cam Spencer's been really good this year, but I wouldn't even stash him. I think you can afford to wait and see how the dust settles before making a move. So, because if anything, you don't want to be taking up a roster spot with someone who, one, isn't healthy right now, and two, we don't even know if the minutes are going to be clear for him once he's healthy. So, yeah, I would not do that personally. Okay, Jiggy, good afternoon to you as well. Rest of season outlooks for Daniel Gafford and Moussa Diabate. Who do we like more?
I think I actually would prefer Moussa, especially just based on recent production from both and what we've seen. Now, when Ryan Kalkbrenner's healthy and Moussa Diabate is probably coming off the bench, then maybe I'd lean Gafford. But right now, I feel more confident in Moussa because, again, if Anthony Davis is traded, I'm assuming they're going to get some sort of center back. Like, if it is, like, I know the Hawks are a heavily rumored team, that would be a Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard trade package, probably based on getting the salaries to match up. So we could see Porzingis not necessarily starting, but taking it away a nice chunk of minutes from Gafford, and he just hasn't been great this year. I think I'd just feel better about Diabate.
Yeah, I know when Diabate's starting, he's going to approach 30 minutes, if not exceed it. Like Gafford's still at about 25. I think. Let me look up what he played last night. Yeah, 25 minutes exactly. Didn't attempt a shot. Like, how is this happening? But yeah, that's another question for another time, I guess. But yeah, I would much prefer Diabate at this point. Um, we've even seen him play well. He played well down the stretch last year too. So I think Diabate would be my preferred option, whether it be now or for the rest of the season. So, all right, is Bilal Koulibaly a must-add with Trey? Highly a shutdown candidate. And you'd like for us to rank the following three Wizards: Trey Johnson, Bilal Koulibaly, and Bub Carrington, and he would drop Kelly Oubre.
I would say I would be rostering Bilal anyway. I'd be fine rostering him. Gosh, it's like, okay, so I don't know how much Bilal has helped just by CJ McCollum being out. So however you viewed him before is probably how you'd view him now. Trey Johnson may see a slight bump with kind of McCollum and Kispert out of the mix. Bub Carrington probably has the biggest bump in value because I genuinely think we don't see much of Trae Young this season, if any, or if at all. And so Bub Carrington could start the rest of the season. And started Bub Carrington, that's not a top 50 streaming option, but I think he's a rosterable player. So I think I'd rather roster all three of those guys than Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
And I'd probably just, depending on how much you need steals, if you need or could use the steals from Bilal, then he's probably first. And if not, then it's probably the order you have here.
Yeah, the thing that complicates Trey Johnson for me is that you still have the Keyshawn George factor to consider in terms of his opportunities. So I think I would still lean Trey first. But I'd go this exact order as well. I think the issue with Bub is that we don't know for sure what their plan is with Trae Young for the rest of the season. So now if they're to come out and say during his introductory press conference, we're going to shut him down for however many games, then he would probably vault past Bilal in my book just because of the sheer opportunity. But yeah, I don't have a problem picking up any of these guys for Kelly Oubre at this point, but I think I would lean Trey right now. But we'll see what happens once they introduce Trey, to the media and whatnot, and what the front office has to say, because that should give us a better idea of how much he's going to play, if he's going to play. Obviously, we all remember the Brandon Ingram situation last year where they just said immediately he's not going to play again this season. So we'll see. Okay, what do you guys think about Peyton Watson after Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Christian Brown are all at full strength?
I think he's probably going to be a drop at that point, just because he'll still play a nice role off the bench. He'll have some good games from time to time. I guess maybe the one scenario would be if Christian Brown just hasn't been as good this year. If they're we'll just keep starting Peyton Watson and have this really tall lineup around Jamal Murray. That's a scenario, or at least he plays more than Christian Brown, but probably ends up being a drop when Aaron Gordon and Jokic, Aaron Gordon's back, but when Jokic is back as well.
Yeah, I don't really like his fantasy outlook once everyone is back to full strength and playing their regular minutes. So yeah, he'll certainly be in the rotation, but he's someone that I think at best he would be someone to hold on to in deep leagues. But standard leagues, you're probably not going to get much use out of Peyton Watson once everybody's back to full strength. All right. Do you think Devin Booker will get better? I thought he would get more assists with no Beal or Durant in Phoenix anymore.
I'm not expecting him, and it is disappointing because I was expecting him to have a really good season. I don't think I'm necessarily expecting a dramatic increase in, like, based on what he's doing right now, expect it to change too much. And honestly, it's fairly similar to what he did last season, just a couple less minutes. Free throws are a touch worse. Yeah, I think it's just kind of what it is. Because, like, what would change things here? I mean, could he randomly get hot?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's one of the, I don't know, I think pretty conservatively 20 best players in the NBA. You could probably push that up to 15, maybe even closer to 10. So, yeah, that can happen. But I don't think, unless they're going to make a trade, but then again, like, he's doing this without Jalen Green even in the lineup. Like, Jalen Green's going to need usage. So I don't really see the path for it. And I was expecting it, him to have like a big season. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, like the assist part of the equation, not only Jalen Green's injury, but also the emergence of Colin Gillespie. That's another factor where he's had the ball in his hands a bit more to make some plays. He's averaging 5.3 assists per game. Booker's at 5.4. So I think when you think back to those years where Booker was effectively a de facto point guard, it was in between like the Ricky Rubio and Chris Paul years in Phoenix. He's averaging about 6 assists a game. I think that's what a lot of us expected to happen, but this team's proven to be better than a lot of people expected. So that's been a factor. I think he's kind of what he is at this point. First round value is not going to happen, but I still think he's a really solid fantasy player. I think he can get back into the top 50. I don't understand why he wouldn't be able to do that. But if you're looking for that first round value, probably won't reach those heights this year. All right. Jiggy needs a forward. Should he drop Trey Jones for Najee Marshall or Jake?
I'm assuming Jake LaRavia. I just didn't. That's just really like not Jake a player that I would think of using as like a first name basis type of guy. Yeah. That's funny though. I can't think of another Jake in the NBA, so I guess technically it's fair because I mean I did look at it and say, oh, that's probably Jake LaRavia, but just like I would think you could say Najee and everyone would know, okay, Najee Marshall, like that's it.
Yeah.
But just Jake, man. Anyways. I probably Najee Marshall. Feel like he's more valuable off the bench than LaRavia is. And Jake LaRavia is kind of like his short-term starter. That I mean, Rui Hachimura should be back.
He's questionable tonight.
Okay, I was gonna say that timeline that should have him back pretty soon. So as soon as he's back, LaRavia loses basically at least the majority of his value. So I believe more in Najee Marshall.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You add in the Anthony Davis question mark too. I think Najee would be the one to pick up. You know, you don't get much defensive value, but I think that's okay at this point. All right, we're back to stashing here. Who's the mustache guys to pick up now? 12-team head-to-head. I don't really think the answers change too much. You're just kind of scouring the bottom of the standings for those bad teams with young players. And it's kind of who I would be targeting personally, like Washington, Brooklyn, guys like that. Even Utah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think among the two example names, like Yegor Joman is definitely a better option to me, and I think he is going to be really good down the stretch of the season. And like has a chance to be. So there's more upside there from him than a guy like Zaire Williams. So I'd prefer him, and he'd be one of my favorite. I have him stashed, and I think stashed to an extent. Like he's already playing well in 2 leagues. So,
would you rather hold Bub Carrington or Justin Champagnie?
Carrington. I think that there's a chance that he starts rest of season. Champagnie's nice streamer, but yeah.
Yeah, no argument here. Like Champagnie, we've seen him be a spot starter, but in terms of the future of the franchise, it would probably be more important for Washington to have Bub playing starters minutes or close to that if they decide to sit Trae Young than Justin Champagnie. So, okay. Are there any updates on Jalen Green and Ryan Kalkbrenner? And is Kalkbrenner a drop? Now, I know with Jalen Green, he was cleared to begin his ramp-up process as of Sunday. How long that's going to take, don't really know, because let me pull it up. Suns head coach Jordan Knott he didn't give away too much information. You know, he's at full strength, but he said he's going to give him a few more weeks. They're going to give him a few more weeks to get the sprinting up to par and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess you're looking at like late January at the earliest for Jalen Green, possibly. Kalkbrenner, no updates from Charlotte. So who knows?
What's new?
Yeah. He has both of his arms. I'm confident of that much. But yeah. I don't really know what else to say besides that, because they haven't provided any updates. So okay. And we've reached the DeJounte Murray portion of our programming. Similar to Charlotte with Kalkbrenner. Really haven't heard any updates on that front either.
I think that they James Borrego said like they're expecting a more definitive update next month.
Yeah.
He's been working. I think the wording was either we just got him back in the building or we're excited to get him back in the building next month, which just to me, I'm like, I get it. It was a long-term injury. Like, he wasn't even around the team at all. Like this summer, this offseason, start this year, like not even like once a week to show up to the gym, like say, hey, like check in, like he just hasn't been there. And I don't know, maybe I'm just blissfully unaware. And like, that's just the standard when there's long-term injuries, but I've seen Tyrese Halliburton on the bench, and I've seen videos of Jason Tatum working out with the Celtics. So I don't know, just seems a little different to me. And I'm going to stick with my stance of don't be shocked if he doesn't play this year. And I will be shocked if he plays more than like 15 minutes per game for a handful of games.
Yeah. As of Sunday, James Borrego said we're hoping to get him back into the building soon. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I don't even know if I would stash him, to be honest with you, because you think about it, you got Jeremiah Fear starting. I don't know, like how much are they going to play him? And if he gets back, how much is he going to be able to play? Like, you're not going to play him heavy minutes right away. And if they wanted to try to move him, would that be enough evidence for a team to take that risk for the trade deadline? I highly doubt that. So he would not be someone that I would be stashing. All right. Nadia Ahmad would like to know, 9-cat Roto rest of the season. Should I trade my Alex Sarr for their Lowry Markkanen?
I wouldn't. There's no reason for Washington to shut Alex Sarr down before like April something. There's absolutely a reason for the Jazz to shut down Markkanen by mid-February. Like, they're winning basketball games. They're up to 13 wins, which, granted, not a lot, but they're 3 games out of the play-in tournament. And there's 5 teams that have fewer wins than them and 2 other teams that have 13 wins as well. They can definitely do more to improve their lottery odds, and I don't foresee them trying to push for the play-in tournament. So,
yeah, it's Utah's situation. It feels like it's setting up for them to make a go of it next year, as opposed to this year. See if you can strike it rich in a draft lottery and then go from there. But yeah, I'm not trading Sarr either. Like, he's going to play. As long as he's healthy, he's going to play. Markkanen, we've already seen some supposed injury management nights, and I think that's only going to get worse after the trade deadline. So, yeah, I would not make this trade either. All right, Kyle with a Dynasty question. What are your thoughts on Noah Penda moving forward, and should we expect him to fade back to the G League once Franz returns?
So I just bumped up Noah Penda in my Dynasty rankings. I'm trying to see. It's still outside the top 200, I believe. Let me try and pull this up real quick. I have him at 234, which still I think I'll keep moving him up. I really like him. But yeah, I think maybe not go back to the G League entirely, but also like he could, and it's not because he's not good enough to be in the rotation, but because he can get more minutes there.
Yeah.
So Dynasty still holds a ton of value. I think he profiles well as a really good fantasy basketball player. It's just going to take time to get there. And the fact that he has Franz Apollo ahead of him isn't encouraging for short term, but definitely a player worth stashing. Tremendous amounts of upside. We could see him being just like an everyday fantasy guy within a few seasons.
Mm-hmm. All right, good day, JJ. What's your rest of season outlook for Keegan Murray, and if he's worth holding through the injury without an IL spot?
I don't think he's this like you just have to hold him.
Yeah.
He was really good at first and then kind of cooled off a little bit, still capable of being really productive, but I don't know. It's just with the injury, and if you don't have an IL spot to store him in, maybe you try and trade him to a contender that's willing to be a little bit more patient on him. That'd be my own, but like even then, I don't think he's that type of productive or level of production, or doesn't produce at that level where you're like wanting to part with assets to stash him. So I think he's fine to drop if there really is someone that's worth streaming that you can pick up.
Yeah, not having an IL spot to work with is what complicates things here. I think a healthy Murray can be really good in Sacramento, provided they move at least one of those veterans before the trade deadline. Because I have a hard time believing that any of them would be willing to just sit on the bench the rest of the season. But they clearly need to clear out usage and more offensive opportunities for Keegan Murray. Like, I don't understand why you would sign him to that extension. Then I think the extension came after the Levine edition, after the DeRozan edition, excuse me. But then they went ahead and acquired Levine. It's like, what are we doing here? But it's Sacramento. I think they need to make some trades to really clear some things up for them. In terms of right now, it all depends on where you are in the standings. Like, if you need to make a move in the standings, you can't really afford to hold on to them without an IL spot because you're going to need production. But if you're pretty high up and you feel like you can afford to wait a bit, I would try to hold on to them. All right. When will Hartenstein and Josh Hart be back? Well, short answer is that we really don't know. I know in the case of Josh Hart, he did travel with the team for their 4-game road trip, which starts tonight in Phoenix. So he should be getting reevaluated like either today or sometime this weekend based on the timeline they gave the last update, which is another week. So we'll see what happens there. But Hartenstein, I think it's day to day. Like, Oklahoma City really hasn't said anything in terms of like an extended absence, but obviously he's been out. And you remember with Jalen Williams, J-Dub, they didn't really have much to say in terms of the timeline either. So don't really know.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll just have to, there's nothing indicating anything more than just taking it day to day. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Adam says that he has been offered SGA for his Victor Wembanyama. Been getting killed by injuries. I'm in 6th place, 10-team 9-cat, one IR spot auction draft. Thunder have 3-3-3 playoff schedule for me. Should I do it? And we'll go ahead to his full squad. He's got Keontae, Quickly, Sharp, Drew, Anunoby, Hart, Miller, Easton, Neesmith, and center Wemby, Duran, Ware, and he's got Jokic in the IR spot.
Dang, yeah, Wemby and Jokic. That's
yeah, I remember this from earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered how he got all these guys.
Oh, it was the auction draft. That's right. That's why.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would definitely. I mean, killed by injury, 6th place. Do you see like dramatic upside in trading Wemby for SGA? Like, if we're looking at blocks, like Wemby obviously is getting you a ton of blocks, but are you going to win that category with Duran, Ware, and Jokic, and maybe Eason can help a little there. Maybe OG can help a little there. Maybe that can be the argument, is that now you move into a punt blocks build. I don't hate it for that.
Yeah. Man. So I think the concern with SGA is the playoff schedule, and also Oklahoma City's 31-7 right now. So if they're to make a run at that regular season wins record, they can only afford to lose one more game to break it and 2 to tie it. I think that's highly unlikely. So I kind of wonder, given where they are in the standings, if there's going to come a point where his minutes either decreased or he gets the occasional night off during those playoff weeks, especially if they're far enough ahead to do that. So, man, I don't like giving up Wemby just because he's not even playing full minutes right now, and he's still been putting up some really gaudy numbers since he returned these 2 games back. So, oh man, I don't think I would do it. I can see why, especially if you're going to shift to a punt blocks build, but I don't think I would do it.
Let's see what do we take a look at what the Spurs schedule would look like then? Maybe we can do that. So Thunder 3-3-3 would be, I'm assuming it's week 19 through 21. The Spurs have 4-3-4 during that. So that's appealing. Mm-hmm. I think I'd hold Wemby. Yeah. It's close though.
Yeah, let's see. Trying to find an update. Yeah, because Jokic has only begun spot shooting. So, the end of January is what the most recent report mentioned in terms of a potential return. I kind of feel like, I don't know, man. I know having Jokic could lead you to think that you can part with Wemby, but I'm still not willing to do that personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Clark Kent would like to know, should he drop Kelly Oubre and like to rank these replacement options? Carrington, Justin Champagnie, Trey Johnson, Colin Murray-Boyles, and Jenkins. Which Jenkins is that?
I would guess Dennis Jenkins.
Dennis Jenkins? Yeah, that's true. Detroit, yeah.
It'd be like depending on categories, because it'd be like the exact opposite, Trey Johnson or Colin Murray-Boyles, like those 2 top, and then Bub Carrington, then Champagnie, then Jenkins. I think Jenkins has value when he gets the opportunity, but it's not there consistently enough for me to consider him, to drop him for Oubre. But yeah, Trey Johnson or Colin Murray-Boyles, depending on what you want more help with.
Yeah, I think I'll take Murray-Boyles first. That Jakob Poeltl back situation, just, I don't know. It's really makes me a bit uneasy in terms of his rest of season value for me and his availability. So I think I would go Murray-Boyles there. Then Trey, then Carrington. We spoke about those 2 earlier. And then Champagnie, and then Jenkins would be the last one. Jaden Ivey, they interviewed him after practice today. He's not on a minutes restriction, but Detroit's got so much depth where it's like even he kind of misses out on some opportunities. So eventually you get Cade back out there. I think it's going to be difficult for Jenkins to get the rotation minutes he needs to be valuable in a 12-team fantasy league. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Okay, Kai Lu would like to know any insight on Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving. I don't think much has changed for either, unless you've heard something different.
There was something about Kyrie Irving not coming back until at least after the trade deadline, and no guarantee he plays this season. I think I'm remembering that correctly, but that doesn't change anything from what we had already kind of been saying. Frankly, I think Tatum has a better chance of playing this season just based on where the teams are in the standings, but I don't think that Tatum's going to be back in time to make any sort of meaningful fantasy impact unless your season is going through like the very end of the season, which the professional recommendation here, I think I'm speaking on behalf of both of us, is to not do that.
Yeah, I don't. The most I've heard on Kyrie is like there's probably a desire on Dallas's part to see how he, Cooper Flag, and Anthony Davis fit together as a trio. In terms of a timeline for him to return, haven't heard anything on that angle. Tatum, we've seen him doing some things in videos, but like Noah said, probably won't be back in time to impact your fantasy, your fantasy playoffs. I think Boston, if they're going to bring him back, they're probably aiming for the real playoffs more than anything. So,
yep.
Yeah. All right. You're welcome, Adam. And he says he's going to keep Wemby. So glad we could help you out there. If you each could push one reasonable trade through to make the rest of the season more fun, what move would you like to see real life, but one that would affect fantasy?
I mean, I'm going to take out my I'm not even going to try and make the little jokey, well, I want to trade best player in the NBA to my team.
Yeah.
What would I want to see? Frankly, I don't necessarily love. Okay, I guess it would be who's somebody that's sitting on the bench somewhere that I think can make a really meaningful fantasy impact that hasn't gotten the chance. Could look at it like that. I don't know. Is anything coming to mind for you? I'm looking through teams and trying to decide on something.
I was thinking like Keon Ellis to the Lakers.
Keon Ellis to one of 29 other teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Lakers one would be actually a good chance for him to play a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really sure who they would move in exchange for him, though. That's in terms of someone that Sacramento would actually want. But that's one move. I think, honestly, my big personal conspiracy is to clear the decks for Keegan Murray in Sacramento. That needs to happen. But
like they need to trade everyone?
I don't know about everyone, but at least one of Levine and DeRozan need to go. One of Westbrook and Schroeder need to go, but they probably don't have much trade value at this point. So, yeah.
I saw, I forgot who tweeted it, but it was something about like the Kings tanking in like a more modern way by instead of benching all your good players, you just have a bunch of older veteran players that just want to shot chuck, and it causes you to lose games, but it seems like you're trying, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. Like, I guess like the Kings trading Keon Ellis or Devin Carter, opening up like minutes for them to play somewhere else. Maybe Minnesota making some sort of trade that maybe sends Rob Dillingham somewhere else so that he can play a little bit more. I think it would be, I don't know, maybe not a specific one. Maybe like a Michael Porter Jr. going to a win now team that has some younger pieces on the bench that can be sent back to Brooklyn and can play a lot. Or same thing for like Washington with Chris Middleton, though you're probably getting less back for him. A big Lauri Markkanen trade, but there's already a number of young guys there. So even if they don't get too much or too many pieces back, like more minutes consistently for Cody Williams or just so we can see more of them. Taylor Hendricks. Don't really see a big Charlotte trade happening with the starters, but Tijan Salon has been better recently, which is kind of cool. And I want to see him get more minutes because he was basically wrote off as a bust the moment the Hornets made the pick. So those are a few. I mean, obviously, I would love to see an Anthony Davis trade just because it's fun. Same thing with John Morant, any other big name, just like the excitement behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Shaden Sharp must own 10-team 9-cat. His percentages and turnovers have been hurting. It might drop to stream.
Yeah, I would be fine dropping him. I think he's a very good scorer. The steals have been pretty good this year, and the threes are there, but he doesn't do enough other things to me, especially in a 10 team, just a little bit. You go a little shallower. I don't know that he makes the cut to me.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right. I know it's early, but who are you excited about for silly season? And Isaac is obsessed with Danny Wolf.
Danny Wolf, I think, could be a very fun one. The only question I have about that is Claxton probably doesn't play much, but Day'Ron Sharp and Noah Clowney do or will. So, but I still am, interested in that. Maybe this could be just too optimistic here, but Johnny Furphy could be fun for the Pacers if they fully pull the plug at some point. Getting to see, I don't know, maybe the Kings do, and we get to see Devin Carter finally play. A lot of the Jazz guys are interesting to me always. I guess it helps because it's a good thing that a lot of these quote unquote tanking teams are playing their young guys early, because I think that's a much better way to tank than to, hey, we're just going to bench all of our veterans. Oh, they're all dealing with injuries. Just, hey, we're prioritizing our young players and they're going to play all season. The veterans, their role isn't going to change dramatically down the stretch. So I don't know. That's what's interesting to me. I think Kyle Filipowski is going to be a big one at some point. So there's a lot of them.
Yeah, let's see here. No, he's already rostered in over a quarter of Yahoo leagues, but Ayo Dosunmu in Chicago, I know they're going to try to do what they can to get into the play-in. We've discussed this before. It's they should probably rebuild with a bit more fervor than they have, but they're probably not going to do that. So someone like him could have value down the stretch. I don't really, man. I know last year Yves Missi was someone that I was intrigued by down the stretch, but now that you have Derek Queen in the fold, I don't really feel too good about him in terms of silly season value. Jeremiah Fairs, I guess, would he still qualify?
Yeah, maybe.
Because he's already been starting. That's the issue there. So
yeah.
Yeah, then you're just kind of scouring these poor teams. Trey Johnson, obviously. Keyshawn George isn't going to be in the mix, but Trey, Bub, depending on what happens with Trey Young. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I counter with Wemby and Shaden Sharp for SGA and Jalen Brunson.
Yes, I would try that. I'm not confident that it works, but you could definitely try it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to get SGA and Brunson. But hey, throw it out there, see what happens. Okay, and we've got looks like a league build question. Suggestions on how many IL and IL plus spots should be available for 12-team or 14-team for next season?
I think if I have my choice, it's probably 3 IL plus. I don't think.
Yeah.
that it should be like a certain amount of IL, a certain amount of IL plus. I think it should just be IL plus. Just I don't know. The flexibility of injury reporting in the NBA is what it is. So I think 3 IL plus makes sense. I'm not like I don't know. I guess it gives you some sort of an advantage, but it doesn't give you an advantage over everyone else in your league. Like you just kind of have those spots and everyone does, but maybe you have an advantage if your players get hurt, but then you're at a disadvantage because your players are hurt. So I think 3 IL plus is not like too generous, but it's enough where you're not like having to make tough cuts because 6 of your players you drafted are hurt.
Yeah, I think I'd go 2 IL plus for 12 team and then 3 for 14. But yeah, I would just go with IL plus instead of looking to differentiate between that and the standard IL spots. Okay, Matt would like to know TJ McConnell or Brandon Williams, 9-cat head to head.
Brandon Williams?
Yeah, I don't really. He played well last night, but no, he didn't. He only played 9 minutes and he left because he got hurt.
Okay, but before that, he had been scoring pretty consistently. I think it just depends on how valuable scoring is to you. If you need a bunch of points, or that's a category that matters, then Brandon Williams. And if you're punting points or you just don't need help there, then I think McConnell helps in more other ways.
Yeah, I don't feel great about either option if they're healthy. I guess I'd go McConnell. I feel a little bit better about him in terms of the consistency of what he provides, but I don't know. I feel better about Williams if he were starting, but it looks like they're back in on the Cooper Flag at point guard experiment, and he's been much more comfortable this time around than the first time. So, yeah, I guess I would lean McConnell, but I don't know. I kind of wonder if there are better options available on your waiver wire, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Kingy. Do we think DeAnthony Melton can maintain a steady 25-minute role for the rest of the season?
He has done it the last handful of games. How many have they been having injuries or they've had players out? No, not really. I could see it. It might depend on what they do at the trade deadline, how much, if they are able to move Jonathan Kuminga, who comes back. But I think he's playing well enough. I think the one factor here is it's Steve Kerr at head coach. And if he's like, I don't know about Melton anymore, it could change pretty quickly. But the rest of the season thing, I think, is just not something I'm ready to commit to for a Golden State player outside of, Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. But I think he'll, at least the next few weeks, should be like a maybe must rosters fair.
I think he can, just because of the tools he brings to the table overall. They're really useful in that rotation, and I don't think they would have traded him last year had he not torn his ACL. They just needed a player out there, period. That's why they made that deal. Then they made sure to get him back. So I think he can maintain a steady role. And if he's playing 25 a night, we've seen him produce really good fantasy value in the past. So I believe he can. Okay, preferred OKC stream today in standard category leagues. Isaac is thinking Aaron Wiggins, but Brandon Carlson is also available in his league.
Yeah, I'm assuming that AJ Mitchell's just already rostered because he would be my go-to. Let's see who. So it's SGA, Chet, Hartenstein's still out.
Cason Wallace.
Caruso's questionable. So we're looking at, Wiggins or Carlson, or who else are we looking at? Isaiah Joe, Kenrick Williams, Luke George. And they play the Grizzlies, so it's Jock Landale, so it's not like this. Probably one of those two. Probably feel more confident in Aaron Wiggins, but the necessity of like having someone to play the center position, I think gives Carlson some appeal, but I also just don't necessarily think that means he's going to play 40 minutes or something. So I think I prefer Wiggins.
Yeah, I would say that as well. I think Lou Dort's been pretty rough this year in terms of the shooting, but I look at this matchup and wonder if he may be able to get some steals and defensive stats for you tonight. But yeah, I think I would lean Wiggins first and Carlson second. Dort would be like a last chance type guy if everyone else was picked up. So I think you'd kind of focus on those two to start Isaac and then go from there. All right. Jiggy would like to know, why are we all keeping Maxime right now? He hasn't been top 20 in the last month. Is there something that I'm missing?
I think it's the fact that he is starting and we've seen him have some really good games. Like, yes, his 9 cat value is a little bit low, but we've also seen like his free throw percentage has been really bad. Low volume, but his free throws have been terrible. Not really a big defensive stats type of guy. So it's really your points, rebounds, field goal percentage. So I don't necessarily think he's a like absolute must roster, but I think he is a rosterable player as long as he is starting. And he's a player I would roster because we've also seen some really big games from him, such as like 29-11, 25-6-3-1-1. We had 17-11, a handful of double doubles. Like, yes, the last handful of games have been rough, but I feel confident enough in him, and I like him as a prospect too. So that's why I'm holding on.
Yeah, the opportunity's there. That's the big reason why people are holding on to him. So, yeah. All right, Isaac, you are quite welcome, and feels like this is a good spot to go ahead and hang it up. Yep, Jiggy, thank you as well. Thank you all for tuning in, ask some good questions. As usual, we'll be here on every Tuesday and Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And until Tuesday, we'll talk to you then. Have a good weekend. Oh, hold on, man. Someone's dropped in a non-basketball question. Since we have time, do you like AC Milan's season thus far? Well, they're in second, so that's good. I think it would be nice to have a consistent number 9 up top to score a few goals, but overall, I can't really complain. No Champions League or anything like that to play, so hopefully they can remain in contention, if not win the league this year. But yeah, appreciate the question.
Nice.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday.